All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Agency of Influence. Today, I wanted to review, kind of analyze the whole situation with Trump and the arraignment and the indictment for the hush money payments. I About an hour ago, I watched the entire speech that he gave at Mar-a-Lago back in his home in Florida about the state of the country, about the indictment, just about essentially everything that's big in the news now. Big in the news nowadays. And largely, I wanted to really discuss whether or not this is going to hurt him in the primary and the general. Um, and I think first I'm going to start by looking at the polling. Now, I don't usually put too much stress on the polls, as we've seen as a hot topic throughout every election in the past decade or so. They're not very reliable. Um, they're not a great predictor, but I think they're fairly decent at testing the sentiment of where people stand on certain issues. So, for example, you can see how Trump has risen in the polls after the indictment. I think that really says a lot for his chances in the election, especially because they're asking Republican voters who they're going to vote for in the Republican primary election. Now, since the indictment, loosely averaging all the polls together, Trump has risen about 10 percentage points, and he's essentially holding a plus 30-point margin over all other candidates in the Republican primary. And he's receiving about 50%, if not higher, of support as being people's first pick to enter the White House. Now, it's always been, at least recently, it's been Trump, DeSantis, even though DeSantis has not put his name in the ring yet. Um, DeSantis is, I think, holding out for a handful of reasons, which we can get into later on. But yeah, I mean, Trump is, I guess we can say, skyrocketing as DeSantis has kind of pulled back in support. I think largely because people just want to back Trump for no other reason. Trump is taking out ads on DeSantis. I think, the first one on TV this week, if not last week. And they're trying to pin DeSantis as this, he's not really conservative like you think he is because of his governance as the governor of Florida. He's kind of like a Bush era Republican, a McConnell Romney type Republican. You can't trust him to have a backbone while being in the White House. But yeah, as Trump goes up 10 percentage points, DeSantis has pulled back. He's fallen about 10 percentage points. And one thing I think is funny, I don't think Liz Cheney has announced anything yet. She's kind of like a Bolton type Republican and several different ways. But everyone's favorite, very lovely Liz Cheney has surged double in the polls. She's doubled her standing. She now stands at a fierce 10%. Um, she's kind of pushed out there by CNN, MSNBC, and all the Democrats as being the one person that they will support right now, who they think can take him out. But I mean, she can take him out? Probably not. I don't really think she has a shot, even with the whole Republican establishment behind her, if they even will do that. Maybe they can get some funding from the Lincoln Project, but that money's gonna dry up fast when they're pulling up against Trump raking in all the money from all the support from the indictments. Yeah, there's been a small handful of people running, like Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he's good. Don't think he really stands much of a chance though of winning. But as more people enter into the race, it's going to dilute the primary field, much as it did in 2016. And I think that as more people get into the race, it's going to give Trump a much easier chance of actually winning. And this dilution of the field mixed with people's, I guess, being galvanized to vote for Trump because of this whole indictment thing. I think those two things being paired together is really going to push Trump forward to winning the primary. But I mean, that brings us, if you can win the primary, that does not give you the nod for the White House. I mean, it's a whole new race once you get there. You can give the Republicans all this red meat and win the primary hands down very, very easily. But once you get into the general, it's a whole new voter base you have to really be attractive to. You have your Republican base still, and then you have your independents, your moderates, your middle of the ground type people, and you also have your Democrats who I don't think Trump's going to pick very much from, but gosh, anything can happen. Things are so crazy with politics. Anything I believe can happen. But what do I think will happen? I believe that Trump will energize his base to get out. This is all considering the indictment, how that's going to help him or hurt him potentially. I believe that the indictment is going to push Trump's voters out. They'll be at the polls early. They're going to do mail-in votes if need be, but they're going to be out there and they're going to be as powerful as they've ever seen. And it's going to be the same on the other side with the Democrats. They're going to be out there to vote against Trump. It doesn't matter if they run a wet piece of white bread with or without butter, with or without margarine. It's not going to matter. They just do not want Trump in there. And also, if Biden runs, if he doesn't run, I don't think it matters for them too much. They're going to be out there storming to the polls to vote against Trump. It becomes very polarizing. This indictment is going to make things just that more polarized. And I think it's going to largely come down to the independents, how they're going to view this whole situation. In my opinion, I think it's going to be a lot like it was in 2020. I think that they're going to see this as just, oh, Trump is a circus. I'm not going to vote for Trump. I don't want Trump in the White House because it's just going to be a circus and the country cannot handle it. They're going to overlook all of the things that they overlooked in the 2020 election. They're going to overlook the laptop, the lockdowns, the political targeting, all the censorship. And even though these things have compounded year over year to this day, and even in the face of inflation and the downward trend economy and the war with Russia and Ukraine and everything that's going on now with China and all of our enemies are piecing themselves together to be their own allies. I feel like people are going to overlook all that, all the corruption, all the conflict. They're going to say, "Oh, it's not going to get that bad. I mean, things might be bad now, but it cannot get that bad. This isn't some documentary I grew up watching. This is not some history book. This is my life. This is real life, and nothing bad's going to happen to me. Things might be hard for some time, but things are not going to completely crumble." And with that outlook, they kind of lose sense that people thought the same thing back when. Nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. The stock market's never going to fully crash. The war is never going to come home. Never going to have to go to war. I mean, we have a draft, but what's that worth? People have not been drafted in a long time. And it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. People really underscore the degree of corruption that goes on within our government, and I think that kind of shows in the way that they vote. I mean, because of that, I think Trump is going to win the primary hands down, but he's going to get into the general, and people are just going to vote like they did in 2020. They're going to feel like Trump's just a circus, and because of that, I'm not going to vote for him. Even though things are, in a way, they're still a circus, just a different kind of circus than it was under Trump. The left likes to go on attack mode, and people really underscore, like I just said, the degree of how much they attack, how much they're willing to lie and try to control the news medium and just really just white knuckle everything that they can get their hands onto. But then again, I think on the flip side, this whole they're raiding Trump's house, former president, for something that they're not raiding Biden's house on, even though he has classified documents as well. I mean, this whole two-tier justice system is really getting out of hand, and now they're indicting a former president who is the forerunner in the Republican Party to go against the Democrats, Biden or whoever else they run. I think that this could potentially be the last straw, and I'm 50-50 on whether or not it's going to be. And this could really give the Trump the extra nudge that he needs to get back into the White House and win that, not just the primary, but the general election. We also need to keep in mind that there's other criminal investigations going into Trump right now. There's the New York State AG, Letitia James. She has the investigation going into him up there. There's also the investigation in DC and the election investigation going on in Georgia. And depending on how those play out, that's going to really make a big difference in not just the general, but the primary election as well. Um, I think it's going to be a polarizing issue, just like the one right now is with Bragg and the hush money payments. Um, but yeah, I mean, that could just pile on, make him look better or make him look worse. That's hard to gauge right now, but my opinion is that they're going to kind of use this hush money indictment as kind of putting their finger to the wind to see on whether or not they should go through with more indictments. They can drag Trump's name through the mud, and if they try to, is it going to make him stronger, make him weaker? They're going to use the Bragg indictment as a test run for that. And depending on how these cases go, I think DeSantis and both DeSantis and Biden will be watching this very closely. If Trump surges, I think that DeSantis will choose not to run. I think he's holding out right now to really see if it helps Trump or not. If it helps Trump, he's not going to run. I think he'll wait till 2028. Maybe in the meantime, um, after he's governor, I think he'll maybe get a position in the White House if he chooses not to run and treats Trump favorably. Plus, I think that Trump knows that he's somebody not to mess with in the Republican Party. He's a rising star. So I think he can really help him become more of a rising star, make him his, I guess, apprentice in a way to fill in Trump's role after his next 4 years. And then as far as uh Joe Biden, our current president, um, he said he might not even say he's going to run for re-election until like mid to late summer, which is well beyond what people usually do historically. Um, is Biden, I think, is people know him and his team and just everyone in general knows that he's not a formidable candidate. He's going to have a very tough time winning re-election. He barely won the first time around only a couple years ago. State of the country, the state of the union is not looking too hot, and it's obvious. I mean, he's going to have a very tough time running against really anybody. And I think they're trying to pull Trump up in the primaries because they think that Trump's the only person that Biden can beat. Um, so I think if Trump wins the primary, I think they'll rerun Biden. But if Trump loses the primary, they're going to pull Biden. But I mean, I can't really wait. It's all going to be in, I guess, sentiment what they put their finger in the wind and figure things out and see how it works. Because they can't wait until after the primary to run Biden or at least push him onto the ballot. But I mean, a lot of it really just kind of weighs on Trump's legal actions. Um, all right, well, those are my thoughts. I'm sure I have some other thoughts I'm going to remember, and they're going to be circling through my head tonight. Um, Let me know what you think. I think this is a very culturally moving thing for us right now. It's a milestone in our history. Things are completely topsy turvy. Things are completely crazy. Let me know what you think. Um, let the country know. Let your friends know, your family, passerbyers. Let them know what you think about the situation. It is sincerely, it's groundbreaking. It's very bad for the country. Country is already divided right now. It does not help piece things together. Biden ran on piecing everything back together. He's going to be the cushion you can lie on, the shoulder you can cry on, and he's being very divisive. And it's just not him; it's the whole Democrat Party right now. Um, so let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to hush things down, if we should go in a fight. Just kidding. We should not do that. but things do need to get serious. We cannot allow, no matter what side you're on, you cannot allow corruption go on in our government, especially at this level. The more you let it kind of inch its way forward, the worse it's going to get, the more it's going to blossom, and the more, yes, rather, the less freedom you're going to have in your life, and the less of a good life you're going to have. More freedom equals more freedom equals more freedom. Bigger government equals bigger government, and that is never a good story. So, again, let me know what you think, and I'll be back with you sometime soon. Thank you.